Today's reading is quite lengthy, verses 4 to 9 of 2 Peter and chapter 2. For if God spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell, and delivered them into chains of darkness to be reserved unto judgment, and spared not the old world, but saved Noah the eighth person, a preacher of righteousness, bringing in the flood upon the world of the ungodly, and turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemned them with an overthrow, making them an ensample unto those that after should live ungodly, and delivered just Lot, vexed with the filthy conversation of the wicked. For that righteous man dwelling among them, and seeing and hearing, vexed his righteous soul from day to day with their unlawful deeds. The Lord knoweth how to deliver the godly out of temptations, and to reserve the unjust unto the day of judgment, to be punished. There are two important lessons to learn from these, in some ways, quite disturbing verses. One is a salutary lesson, and the other is a comforting lesson. One we might say is negative, the other certainly is positive. And the two lessons are really summarized in verse 9. The Lord knoweth how to deliver the godly out of temptations, and to reserve the unjust unto the day of judgment, to be punished. Both of these lessons remind us of the wonderful truth that God always acts completely in keeping with his character, even though at times we cannot understand what is going on. One of the things we always have to remember in the various situations and circumstances of life is that the world we live in is what we might call a probationary world. In the working out of God's purpose, we have not reached the final scene, though we can be sure, as Paul writes in 1 Corinthians 15:28, all things are working out that God may be all in all. Peter looks back in these verses over history, and they are historical events from the time period of the book of Genesis that he is referring to. And he's able to pick out three outstanding events that demonstrate to us that God does and will judge sin. Neither men nor angels will be able to continue in their evil indefinitely. God spared not the angels that sinned, is what he writes in verse 4. That is, at the time of the fall. He spared not the old world, verse 5. That is, at the time of the flood. And in the third example, turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemned them with an overthrow, verse 6. It's a salutary lesson for our modern world as it continues on in its God-denying ways. As Solomon wrote in Ecclesiastes 11 verse 9, walk in the ways of thine heart and in the sight of thine eyes, but know thou that for all these things God will bring thee into judgment. In contrast to this, Peter also reminds us that God delivered just Lot, verse 7. And he assures us that the Lord knoweth how to deliver the godly, verse 9. Or perhaps simply as Darby translates it, the Lord knows to deliver. The idea might not be so much that God knows how to do it, but that he knows to do it. Writing to the church of Smyrna, Revelation chapter 2 verse 10, John recorded, ye shall have tribulation 10 days. It is strictly limited, and then at a complete end. Glory is assured. As Job learned in his day, God can be relied upon. He knows what he is doing, and he will do it according to his own perfect timing. That should give us assurance today.